The MTDCNC podcast, sponsored by Langley Alloys, unique metals for demanding applications, providing first-class performance and an international service.
So, Mike, first of all, can you give us a little introduction into you and what you do here at Hoffman?
Yeah, so I'm Mike. I've worked at Hoffman for 5 years, over 5 years now. My role is an e-business specialist, so I deal with all of our inventory management solutions, helping customers to find their the best solution for their site, essentially. I also do things on our e-shop, and any e-technical electronic ordering is my responsibility at Hoffman.
Now, inventory management systems, people always think of vending machines,
Yes,
but that's not all it is it? So
No.
can you give me a brief overview on your, and I'll try and get all these right first time, your iBin, iClick, Twin Bin and Scanban systems and how they actually work together?
Yeah, of course. So at Hoffman UK, we offer vending machines like a lot of our competitors do as well. But we've recently branched into a more diverse range of inventory management solutions, which, as you mentioned, is the iClick, the iBin, the Scanban systems. An overview is essentially it works in a similar way to a vending machine in that it's going to manage your stock for you, it's going to reorder your stock for you. You're always going to have stock line side at production, but a vending machine isn't always the most suitable tool for the job. There is other options available.
So what are some of the key benefits of using these systems?
The big benefit of one of the systems is that they're really flexible compared to a vending machine, which is quite a rigid box that sits on your shop floor in one position. The inventory management can go anywhere on your shop floor. Most of it is movable, most of it is battery powered, and you can pick it up, move it, put it on racking that you've already got. So it's much easier to integrate it into your factory that you already have.
And talking about integration, how do these integrate with your ERP system?
Yeah, so all the solutions that we offer for inventory management are electronic databases essentially. So they all carry part data, stock level data, usage data in the background. So we can have all that data into our ERP system, into the customer ERP system, and they can see live stock data. We can automatically reorder for the customers, which we do a lot of part of our inventory management, which means that the customer doesn't need to think about having to reorder stock. It just happens automatically because we see live data and we can get it anytime and send orders basically to the customer.
Now, we've sort of done quite a big overview of all these systems
Yes.
together. So I think we need to sort of pinpoint now into each one of these systems and find out a bit more about them. So let's start with iBin.
Yeah.
How does the iBin system use sensor technology to manage your inventories?
Yeah, so each iBin that we supply is essentially a normal tote bin that you might have on your shelf already in your factory, in your store system or whatever you have. But it's placed on our electronic battery-powered weighing scale. So we program each one individually to the parts that are going in the bin. So you know the weight, you know the item that's in each weigh bin. And depending how much that weighing scale weighs, you know how many are in there because you tell the machine, this item weighs 100 grams, there's 400 grams in there, so there must be 4 in there.
So what sort of, what products are best suited for this system?
To be honest, it works with almost all consumable items. They are sensitive up to 2 grams. So even small items, there may be some really tiny screws that would be too light, but even small screws, cutting tools, small drill bits, PPE, hand tools, abrasive consumables. We even do tins of WD-40 and things like that. And so anything that weighs more than 2 or 3 grams is suitable.
And obviously consumables run out.
Exactly.
So how does the system alert you once, or me, when that bin is starting to get low and will need refilling?
Yep. So when we configure each one of the bins, we say what's in it and what the weight of that item is. And so the weighing scale knows. And we also set a minimum stock level. So we can say when it drops down to 3 left in the bin, for example, it will automatically trigger an order. And it'll send it directly to us if we want it to Hoffman, or it can send it directly to the customer. And it'll send an alert saying this bin needs to be replenished.
Now, if people at home who are listening or watching, because this podcast is being recorded,
Don't remind me.
how can you explain the installation process of this? If there's somebody at home watching or listening who likes the sound of this system and wants to invest more into it, what's the installation process like, and how how much disruption is that going to take on my shop floor?
So usually if a customer is interested, myself or one of my colleagues who do the same job as me would visit the customer site and do a survey first to see what they have in place currently, what sort of stock management systems they have in currently, if they have any at all. And then we will discuss with the customer what the different options are, like we're discussing today, all the different options, and see which one is most suitable specifically for the customer. And I would say I've been doing this job 5 years and no two customers have ever had the exact same solution offered, because every customer is unique and it just depends how they work, what products they use and what's best for them. So from that side, we do the pre-site survey check, and then once we've gone ahead and decided to go ahead with the installation, where the installation itself is fairly undisruptive if we're doing things that are inventory management like the iBins, for example. We can put them on existing customer racking or on existing customer shelves, or we can also provide the racking and the shelving as well. So as long as there's a little bit of space at the customer site, disruption is pretty low too.
So that's a lot to do with iBin. So
Yep.
let's move on now to iClick.
Yep.
Now, how does the iClick system simplify the inventory management tracking process?
Yeah. So our iClick is our most simple solution for inventory management. It is literally one little button that's the size of a 50p coin, for example. And it just sticks onto a bin, a rack, a pallet, whatever the customer has as existing storage solutions. It just sticks on, and all we do is we program that little button with a part code and a quantity. And essentially, it's going to monitor what is on the shelf. And if people just come and freely take items off the shelf, when it gets low, the common problem is that no one tells the supervisor or the buyers when the last one is taken or when they're running low. And so when the next person comes and he needs it for his job now, there's none in the bin. So the iClick solution is basically a button that when the stock is low, all you have to do is press and hold the button for 3 seconds, and that is it. And it just tells us that that bin is low and needs replenishing.
So that must make it really simple for anybody on the shop floor to use.
Yep.
And also, that's going to stop that problem you mentioned about how, and it's right, you are right, nobody ever tells the shop floor manager that things are running low.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, it's another system on the shop floor. So what sort of interface have they got to make it easy to use?
If the customer wants Hoffman to manage their inventory completely, which we do offer as a service, and we'll manage the whole inventory for them, in terms of the customer's input into the system, the only thing they have to do is click that button for 3 seconds when the stock is low, and we will do the rest. We'll bring stock to site, we'll replenish the stock for them, and they basically will have stock in the bins all the time, and the production won't stop because they've run out of items.
Essentially, you cannot make that any easier.
Yeah, it's designed to be our most simple option, and it doesn't work for everyone because the stock is then just on an open shelf, and some customers don't want people freely taking stock. But if you want a very simple solution, it's a very good offer.
And it might be a good solution or a good starting point for customers who don't have any systems at all.
Yeah.
Now, let's move on to twin bin.
Yeah.
So how does the twin bin system help in reducing stock outs and overstock? Because a lot of people always go, we're out of stock, but then there is also the problem of overstocking as well, which we don't really talk about much.
Yeah, that's true as well. So the twin bin is essentially one up from the iClick. So the twin bin is a basic Kanban system, which means that you're taking out of one bin, and then when that bin is empty, it gets replenished from a bin from behind it with the same product in, essentially. So the twin bin is just a little sleeve that you can open, take the product out freely, as many as you want, and when it's empty, all you do is just press a button and it will flag to us that the bottom bin is empty, and the bin behind will move forwards and provide the stock then for the people to stock again. So that just gives a bit more warning that you've got a whole bin refilled again, and it's just the back bin that needs refilling. So
is that just one of the unique features the twin bin brings compared to a traditional bin system?
Yeah. So the twin bin is unique in that way that there are other Kanban systems out there, and people, customers do Kanban manually, where it requires someone to say, I've emptied the front bin and I've moved it to the back and we need to replenish that bin. And it always happens when it's a manual job that both bins end up empty and no one's been told and they need it for production. And then it's only at that point that it's triggered. Whereas with ours, it's electronic and it automatically triggers when that first bin is empty. You can't move the stock down to the front bin again and without it automatically triggering for us to see that it's empty.
And that also must help with customers handling high volume, high frequency work.
Yes.
And consumables that they'll never run out.
Yeah, it's the consumables that are going to be line side. These are movable as well, so we can do them on movable wheel units, and you can have a few different number of twin bins, so you have a few different products on a movable thing, so you can move it to the machine. If you're moving machines and you still need the same parts, you can wheel it along with you like a trolley.
Now, just before we move on to Scanban, what has been the reaction from customers on this system?
Yeah, so we had a stand at Mac this year at the NEC, and we took our Scanban, our twin bin, our iClick, and we had a setup there at Mac. And we had a lot of interest from customers because it's not big in the UK for all these variety of different inventory management systems. Vending has been in the industry for 20 plus years. Everyone knows the vending, and that's what you initially think of when you think of inventory management. But there are these other solutions here, and they are more acceptable, and they do a better job than vending machines in some cases. So the interest was good, and especially the weigh bins. It's such an intuitive and easy system for managing your stock, and we had a lot of interest at Mac.
Now, we've talked a lot about twin bins, so let's move on now to Scanban. So how does the Scanban system automate the replenishment of stock to make sure you've always got what you need?
Yeah. So our Scanban system is essentially a handheld scanning device, and it's to be used with customers' existing racking, or again, we can install a full store or a full area of racking if needed. But that's what it's designed for, is a handheld scanner that you can walk around your factory to different areas and scan essentially the tags that are on each location. So in a normal traditional stores, you might have a tote bin on a shelf with a part number label on it, and someone just really takes it out and then has to remember to book it out on the computer system, which is somewhere else. Maybe it's a computer in stores, or it doesn't get booked out at all. And again, when stock is low, someone has to remember to tell the buyer to buy more, otherwise it runs out. The handheld scanner you carry around with you, and you can scan each location, has its own little scanning tag, and you can scan each tag and book out stock live at that location. So you can book it out against your name, against a job if you wanted it, but against a cost center. So you get real traceability in the background of all the items that get booked out. When they get booked out, who booked them out, you can see over time how many you use in a year, because most people don't know who on the shop floor is using what items and when they're using them. So that's the background of it, that it's essentially a live handheld scanner that you can input data onto, and in the background you get all the reports, all the usage, who's been taking what. You get to see live stock levels as well, so that can reorder stock for you as well, so you don't run out.
So what are some of the customizable options with Scanban for individual businesses? Because obviously, like you said, no business is the same.
Yeah.
So how can you change that so that each business has their own system which works for them?
Yeah. So the beauty of the Scanban is it is just one standard scanner that we do for all customers. So every customer would have the standard scanner, but all you need to do is put a scanning label on anywhere in your factory that you've got stock. So it could be by a machine, it could be by assembly, it could be in a stores area. It can already utilize the entire stores system that the customer has. All we have to do is just add a sticker to each location, and the scanner will work, and you can carry it around the factory. You scan multiple different locations and manage the stock levels all over your site.
All these systems we've spoke about, if you put all these systems together, how does that give you a full comprehensive inventory system?
Yeah, so all of these solutions that we've talked about today, they all have the same back-end database. So all of them feed into the same database in the background. So it is possible for a single customer to have maybe iClicks on the pallet racking, iBins next to the assembly team, a Scanban in their storage area, and they've got a man who runs the stores who manages the Scanban, and they all can integrate together into the same back-end database. So you just look on the back end, you can see livestock data everywhere in the factory, whether it's on an iClick, whether it's on an iBin, whether it's on the Scanban system, and they all work together in harmony and allow the customer to have one simple place to look to find all the stock on site.
Now, I might be getting a bit ahead of myself here, but you've made that sound so easy, and that a customer who, we've all been to a shop where you've got shop floor managers running all over the place trying to find material here, jobs there, consumables over here, but you've put it all into one area.
Yeah.
Now, what sort of training do you get for that? And is it a hard system to learn, or is it essentially when you've learned one and you've learned the back end, you can just add these on and it's quite easy to keep going?
Yeah, they're all really intuitive to actually use as a day-to-day. So for the people on the shop floor using each of these items, the everyday use is really easy. There's almost no training, maybe a minute per person, and they'll be able to use it, no problem. The back end is a bit more complicated. So setting up new iBins, for example, or new Scanban stickers is slightly more complicated, but we offer full on-site training for customers as well. Myself or one of my colleagues can spend a day with people if they want a more in-depth how to set up the background, how to do the reordering in the background. If a customer wants that, we can do a full day's training with them and get them comfortable with it. But also we have customers who just want Hoffman to manage it all for them, and so we will come in, we will set it all up for them, and they don't need to know any of that other than you take stock out of that bin when you need it.
Implemented these into any businesses yet and got good results from them?
Yeah, so we have a customer who already had vending machines with us to manage some of their consumables, but when we introduced these new inventory management systems, we also looked at the other items that weren't suitable for the vending machine that we'd had to ignore before we could offer these other inventory management solutions. And we found out that they had a lot of consumable products on the line side with their production that they just had in cupboards, manually managed. They were always running out of it. And so what we did is we installed some racking, and we installed over 100 weigh bins for 100 different products. And all those weigh bins are now live, constantly managing their stock levels. And we've not run out of any stock yet because it tells us when the stock is low.
And that must be good for them because obviously you're not looking in cupboards all around the shop. You're not running out of things.
Yeah, and they saw the benefit of the vending machine, that they had the stock available 24/7 and they didn't run out of it because the vending machine was managing it already. And then they were annoyed that this stock in the cupboard was running out because no one was managing it and there was no system in place. So now we've put a system in place for that as well. All of their stock line side is managed by Hoffman.
Well, Mike, thank you so much for your time from me and all at MTD for your knowledge and experience in all these systems. I didn't know nowhere near as much as I do now about these systems. Yeah. And to be honest, back on the shop floor, I could have really done with some of these and not, I've run out of things and then I had to reorder them. So a big thank you to you for your time. And I'd just like to say a big thank you to our sponsors of the MTD podcast, which is Langley Alloys.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the MTDCNC podcast, sponsored by Langley Alloys, specialists in a wide range of exotic materials for any application for all your engineering needs.